All right, Marty, why don't you start us off with Liz?
Yeah.
Hey, Liz.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, all good, all good. You're used to having obviously a target on your back, obviously being the number one flyweight in Bellator for so long. Now obviously we get a larger roster with a lot of hungry fighters in the PFL roster now. What changes for you, and is there any more pressure now that there's new younger and other blood in the division?
No, I don't really feel like there's more pressure. I kind of put that pressure on myself when I went into Bellator on wanting to make a new chapter of my career and make sure that I set out with getting finishes and not going to decisions anymore. In my 7 fights to Bellator, only one of them went to decision, and I plan to do the same thing in PFL. I don't want decision wins, and for the best outcome of the season, it doesn't benefit me to have decision wins. So I'm going out there hungry, looking for finishes, looking at these young hungry women. They're super talented. They want to get the $1 million. And like you said, there's a large target on my back. So I have to stay sharp. And I look to do that every time I go back to the gym.
And you're right. You've been on an absolute tear, obviously, since you joined Bellator. We know that your next fight, obviously, is against Juliana again. What goes through your mind, and what did go through your mind when you found out you were facing her for the third time?
Initially, I was disappointed. I wanted the challenge. I wanted something different. But then I saw it as an opportunity to face somebody who's probably to come out there with the entirely different game plan. Somebody that's coming out because there's $1 million on the line, who feels like the first 2 fights was controversial and it was a bad call. The second one, she was just caught off her game, but she was winning up until that point. So that tells me it's somebody that's willing to go out there and be super dangerous. And I can't rely on them to do the same things they've done before, which means you can't really create the game plan that you think you can. So you have to just be ready to make changes on the fly at every moment.
Thanks. And the last one for me, really quickly. Are there any specific names in the tournament that you actually do want to be drawn against at the moment?
Yeah, of course. I think Dakota's is a big name they're looking to get drawn against. She having been the UK champion, I'm definitely excited to face her. And I think that she's a name that's starting to rise up through the ranks that people are knowing. So ultimately facing her at some point, ideally in the finals, would really be exciting.
All the best, Liz.
Thank you.
Andrew.
Hey Liz, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good, good. I just wanted to ask about a quote that you did an interview, I believe it was yesterday, where you talked about the lack of charisma among the bantamweights, and I think I would like to hear you expand more upon that. What would you think about trying to promote yourself as a fighter? Because you obviously want to show your skills. You want people to know you for your skills, but then the other aspect is that you have to sell a fight. And I just want to know personally from you, how do you find that balance in trying and people respecting your skills, but also knowing, yeah, I want people to watch my fights and I want them to tune in. I got to talk the talk, so to speak.
Yeah, I definitely think that I fall short on that balance. I think that, the people that are willing to go out there and they like doing the OnlyFans, they love and have a great creative flow for when it comes to social media and being able to create content that people want to see, creating a brand that relies on social media. Those are the people who want to see fight, whether they think they're super talented or not. They tune in to see them fight. Sometimes it comes at the cost of their own skill set in the gym. Others do a great job balancing the two. I'm definitely not one of those people. I'm good at focusing in the gym and giving all my energy and attention there. And I'm definitely falling short in social media that I'm trying to pick up. But for you to succeed in the sport, you've got to be able to do both. Whether that means that somebody else is marketing you, they take over your social media and do a good job with that if you do it yourself. But you have to be able to be balanced with both to really succeed and get a name for yourself.
Great. Thank you so much. Looking forward to your fights.
Thank you.
Anik.
Liz, I got a couple fun questions for you. If you were in a street fight, name one Bellator and one PFL fighter you'd like by your side.
Ooh. One bell. I've been out and about with Alima Lay McFarland. She's a hilarious drunk. So I think I'd probably have to go with her because she looks like she's not going to do anything. Sometimes she's passed out against a wall and then she goes full active mode. So she's like the sleeper attack person that she is unsuspecting. So I think she's good and she'd be my pick for Bellator. For PFL, I'm going to go with the giant heavyweight because the intimidation factor is somebody's like 7'2". You can't beat that.
So which giant heavyweight is that?
I'm trying to remember his name. We were just talking about him today, and I'm just drawing a blank. But he's one of the ones that's fighting for the season play, and I think he's 7-2 or something crazy like that.
Gotcha. Thank you. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Gabriel.
Hey Liz, I was just wondering, were there ever any talks about trying to make the bantamweight thing happen and just seeing if they might oblige you? Because coming off of Bellator 300, you had talked about, hey, what could be the next thing, and that possibility.
Yeah, it's something that I keep putting out there, and I've certainly mentioned to my management and hoped that they would bring it up to both Bellator and PFL. Unfortunately, they had proposed the idea that it looked like they were going to do this tournament and do the season play, and with that on the line, they couldn't possibly be able to do a 135 and a 125 division. So unfortunately, I fell short with that. I'm hoping that succeed this season, and then I can really push to do the 135 season like we've seen the other women do as well.
There used to be a lot of talks about a Bellator Flyweight Grand Prix. Does this kind of feel like that opportunity? Obviously, the cast of names and people and personalities is different, but I feel like this is the one that a lot of the fighters really earned building that 125 division. Do you feel the same way?
Yeah, I like the idea of doing it within PFL because that means I got to secure my belt in Bellator. And now I have an opportunity to do that tournament style Grand Prix that Bellator is saying, but now with a different organization being able to get another belt.
Maybe a bit of an odd question. Do you feel like a defending champion right now? Because obviously, it's a little different, but most people would probably say, well, Liz is the best one in the field.
No, I don't feel like a defending champion at all. I think, especially when you bring Dakota into it and she's the UK champion, that's essentially she's the champion from this organization. If anything, I'm coming from Bellator. I'm not, right? You see other women that go to other organizations and they're champions from where they came from. They're no longer reigning champions. And I feel the same thing coming into this.
Final one. I like the fight with Dakota. I think a few fans might also point out you and Tyler Santos, both former UFC contenders. I mean, is that a fight that could be a big one in your opinion?
Yeah, absolutely. She's super talented. And I think that we all know what she's bringing into this season play and that she'd be a great person to team up with and go against in this tournament.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Joey.
So you now in your 14th year in professional MMA, and you seem to be performing at a higher level than you ever have. So what would you attribute your continued success to after such an illustrious career?
If I'm being honest and forthright, stem cells. It's something that I've done, and I feel like that has helped my body heal and recover faster than I ever would have. It's prevented me from doing surgeries. My body feels healthier, and I'm also just a late bloomer. Everything I've done my entire life, like I didn't join the Marine Corps at 18. I joined right for my 21st birthday. I got out of the Marine Corps. I started MMA right before my 26th birthday. Everything I do is later than everybody else. It's just who I am as a person. So it's the same thing my MMA career. I had to make those early mistakes, and now I'm starting to learn from them and starting to grow and adapt for the better now.
So you went on a big undefeated run in Bellator, won all your fights but won by finish. So are there any new challenges that you're particularly excited about in this women's division in PFL, or do you feel you're going to have another dominant run coming up?
Yeah, of course, I want to see everything play out and I want to have a dominant run. And even in Bellator, that's what I wanted, but it's MMA. You never know what's going to happen, but it's exciting. I like how the rule set is set up. I like being as active as I'm going to be when it's something I prefer to do because I train year round. So those are both things that are super appealing, but also very difficult. Cutting to 125 is much more difficult than it was when I was cutting to 135. So to bounce back and have to take fights very quickly after that means I really have to be on my game. But I'm also really excited to be able to do it.
Thank you for your time. Good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
Mike.
Hey, Liz. Coming into this PFL season, I know you are someone who has always previously, not in Bellator, but in that other promotion, had to deal with the politics of everything. Just speaking to someone who's been in this sport for so long, obviously there's other enticing and intriguing matchups, and people are going to want to call for certain fights. But when you just have to show up, do your job, and move on to the next, how satisfying is that for a veteran like yourself who got the short end of the stick in other places because there was politics and popularity contests?
Yeah, that's so satisfying is knowing that if I'm ranked number 2, it's because I beat out the other girls on an unbiased point system and moved up through it. It's not done just because they have 1 million followers. They're the pretty girl. They didn't really fight great people. So I love that. And you're absolutely right. It just allows me to go back and just focus on moving forward.
And just kind of looking at everything, right? After being mistreated at your first stop, then going in and winning a belt at Bellator, you could have been like, I've achieved everything. And obviously you've talked about, Dakota and some of the other challengers out there. But what enticed you the most about coming over to PFL, joining this tournament, and going for another belt? Is it simply that, getting another belt?
It's 3 things. It's getting another belt, being able to hold 2 belts, one in one organization and the one in another. It's being able to get $1 million. Let's be honest, for a female fighter, that's the most we see in our career ever. Right. So yeah, I definitely want to work for that and be able to get that. And also it's the unbiased rule set. It's knowing the progression through the season is done the right way.
And lastly, for me, and I really appreciate the opportunity, how would you sum up where you're at now in your career, right? Like I continue to kind of point out, if you haven't noticed, I'm a big defender of you and everything you went through early on in your career. But how do you feel about where not only your career, but women's MMA is? And like you just said, $1 million, the progression you've seen throughout these stages of your career.
Oh, it's awesome. I still feel like there's so much growth for women's MMA, and we see that until we see more weight classes represented and less disparity between the weight classes. That means we still have growth, right? So that's exciting because women keep proving over and over that we can step up to that challenge of growth and will exceed what you have set forth for us, right? But to see where I came from when very few gyms had women to now there's so many and they're showcasing everything, all their talent in the fights, being on the main card, being the main event. That's awesome. Being able to get $1 million is just so many cool things that have happened in the short time that women's MMA has started to grow.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Last question for Liz. Diego, please.
Hi, Liz. This is a 2-part question. You're not new to fighting other fighters multiple times, but this is the first trilogy. So how do you feel about it, and how do you make it interesting for you and exciting during camp, and what changes do you make?
Yeah, so I love training more than anything else. Like to be able to test yourself against talented people, the only way to do that is in competition, right? In the gym, it's just not the same. But the reality is what I love doing is I love training, I love being in martial arts. So I don't have to make that exciting. When I go to the gym, it's exciting just being around my friends, hitting each other in the face, choking each other, trying to break each other's arm, and then laughing about it after, right? So that's an easy focal point. But knowing that there's somebody coming out there that has more on stake for both of us means that she's willing to take risks that she wouldn't take before. Her believing that she never really lost those 2 fights and has an opportunity to win this one means that she's going to come out dangerous and take risks that she probably never would have taken in the first 2, especially to prove herself in a new organization. So that's a really dangerous opponent that I have to be on my toes for.
Love it. Thank you so much and good luck.
Thank you.
All right, Liz, thank you so much. Appreciate your
Thank you.
time today. We're just going to hop over next door.